Hi, we're Quentin Curious Volumes. My name is James. Today is Tuesday. I'm not doing a tag today. No, I'm talking about reviews. There have been a number of interesting videos posted lately on the topic of reviews, in particular, honest reviews. Um, a fellow named Bookless Pete posted that he had been contacted by an independent author offering to send him a free book in exchange for an honest review. And this is something I've seen on like Goodreads, where someone will post, "I was sent this book for free in exchange for an honest review." It's curious, and this also came up recently in the Honest Booktuber tag, where it said, "Have you ever failed to disclose that you got a book for free or something like that?" Um, and in the world of reviewing books, generally you would expect that a book would be sent to you for free. Uh, I know that professional reviewers for magazines and newspapers, the ones that still run book reviews, uh, they'll get big stacks of books sent by publicists who work for the big publishing houses. And usually the hope is that the book will find its way to a reviewer who will review it. But it's just part of publicity. And I don't have a lot of experience. Well, I have no experience really doing that kind of reviewing, the kind that the booktuber Steve Donahue does for a living. But I have done some reviews in an academic context. So this is, I guess, a third context. There's the professionals, the newspaper reviewers like um, like Steve, and there's the, I guess you would call it, community reviewers, people who post on a book, what's it called? Goodreads, post Amazon reviews. Booktubers would also, I guess, count people who are, you know, not as a matter of course being sent uh, books to review. So people who might find it kind of surprising to get a book for free because they're, you know, not in the business of reviewing books generally. And then the academic context, the third context, where you don't get paid for your reviews, but you do get a book for free to review it, and it's not expected that you would disclose that either, that it was given for free because it's assumed. So, for example, when I was in graduate school, for grad students, it's often a way to get your first kind of publications is to write some reviews of new scholarly books. And it's not generally not that hard to write to the review editor for, my field was ethnomusicology. The main journal for that was called Ethnomusicology. If you're a grad student, you probably have a subscription, and you write to the reviews editor and say, "I'd like to review X book," and they will usually say, "Great, I need someone to review that book," and they'll send a copy to you, and you return, is it a your it's assumed that it's honest, and it's assumed that you got the book for free, is what I'm trying to say. Often the book will have some kind of marking on it saying that it's a review copy, not for resale, something like that. So it's also assumed that you're not getting paid for that review, by the way. And usually these are fairly concise reviews. I'm gonna say 1,000 words maybe is usually what they are. And they're books that don't have a very large print run and have a pretty limited appeal. They're often quite expensive, so your review is going to be tailored to that. It's not going to be pitched to, does a general reader want to read this book? Because uh, about 90 to 105% of the time, the answer is no. No general reader wants to read this book. Um, And yeah, so I did some of those when I was in grad school. It's a way to get your, as I said, to get some publications. It is also a way to sometimes to actually get a book that you want, but that is very expensive. Like some of these books would be like $100, maybe more. You could get it for free by writing the review, so that's good. Um, and then another thing I wanted to talk about was David Novak of the great channel David Novak Reads Poetry posted his own response to Bookless Pete's video in which he read a review from about 20, well, I guess it was 23 years ago, of one of his books of poems that was an absolute hatchet job, absolutely scathing. And he seemed very unbothered by it. In fact, maybe a little bit pleased. Sometimes, I, I love David Novak's channel. Sometimes his emotional state is a bit cryptic, but I think he kind of got a kick out of this scathing review from so long ago that called his book Oh no, Stinkola. Yes. So there's and one of the things that he touched upon was that book critics are never famous for getting it right. No one looks back and says, well, I suppose in some cases there are famous book reviews that got it right. Like, well, that's not a review. I was thinking of Ralph Waldo Emerson writing to Whitman saying, I greet you at the start of a great career. Well, he was right about that, right? So that's kind of a famous, but it wasn't a review. So never mind. But there are famous reviews that missed it completely. And I'm thinking of one that I want to share a little bit with you, which is our famous review of the book Catch 22 by Joseph Heller that ran in the New York Times in 1961 by Richard Stern. And it says Catch 22 has much passion, comic and fervent comic. Let me do this again. Catch 22 has much passion, comic and fervent, but it gasps for want of craft and sensibility. A portrait gallery, a collection of anecdotes, some of them wonderful, a parade of scenes, some of them finely assembled, a series of descriptions, yes, but the book is no novel. One can say that it is much too long because its material is repetitive and monotonous, or one can say that it is too short because none of its many interesting characters and actions is given enough play to become a controlling interest. Its author, Joseph Heller, is like a brilliant painter who decides to throw all the ideas in his sketchbooks onto one canvas, relying on their charm and shock to compensate for its lack of design. So, yeah, I kind of like Catch 22, and I agree with with just about every criticism in that. Of course, and Joseph Heller, it was said by one of his sons, could quote that negative review verbatim and in its entirety for the rest of his life. I don't know if that means he took it to heart or he found it hilarious. I suspect it's the former. So, like David Novak said, the risk of being a reviewer is that you will get it wrong and you will pan something that is great. And when I think of that, I think of a critic who is portrayed in the movie Basquiat. The critic was a real life person named Rene Ricard, and he's an art critic in New York in the 1980s, and he has some. He's kind of the POV character in a way. He does a lot of voiceover, kind of situating you, I guess. And at one point he says, "No one wants to be part of a generation that ignores another like Van Gogh. In this town, one is at the mercy of the recognition factor. One's public appearance is absolute. Part of the artist's job is to get the work where I will see it, I, the critic. I consider myself a metaphor of the public. I'm a public eye, a witness, a critic. When you first see a new picture, you don't want to miss the boat. you have to be very careful. You might be staring at Van Gogh's ear. So I tried to find out if this is from an actual essay by Rene Ricard, and he published several, about a dozen books in his lifetime. I couldn't find it just in a few minutes of Googling. So I guess who knows? It's impossible to find out. Uh, Maybe someone who is a fan of Rene Ricard is watching and can tell me where that quote is from, or can say that the movie Basquiat is famous among aficionados of Rene Ricard's for being unjustly, for misrepresenting him horrendously. Rene Ricard never would have said anything like that. I don't know. I know. Anyway, I like that movie, Basquiat. The booktube event framed in September is coming up. I don't know how much I'll do for it. It does interest me. Maybe take a look at the movie Basquiat if you want a depiction of the art world in the '80s, and a great artist, Jean-Michel Basquiat. Also, it has David Bowie playing Andy Warhol. When do you ever get two icons like that sort of colliding in one performance? It's really something. Yeah, so that's kind of wandered all over the place. That's what I have to say about reviews. I still review things occasionally for the Music Library Journal. But you probably know that's probably why you're here. You're all subscribers to the Music Library Journal, and you're fans of my. You may know me from such reviews as Appalachian Fiddling and a source book on Appalachian Fiddling. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.